Seth Harcrow beats.
Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whichever time of the day it is for you guys. I'm tuning back in today to go ahead and share a very special event situation with you guys about me personally that hopefully you can take and use to benefit yourself. Today I'm going to talk about my coming out story. Well, it's kind of a very multi-part story because I took it at various stages throughout the entire thing, but I hope at the end you guys can look back and realize that ultimately coming out, becoming yourself, letting yourself be known for who you truly are is probably the best thing you could ever do. So to start it out, we're gonna go back to when I was in high school. So this was back in my freshman year. Oh boy, I think this was back in 2011. Gosh, that's crazy to say considering the fact it's already 2018. Well, it all started whenever I transferred schools from Anderson High School to Anderson New Technology. I started up at Anderson for the first semester, and I just knew I didn't really belong there that much, strictly for the fact of I didn't know many people. A lot of the friends from middle school just moved off, went off on their own little adventures in life, made new friends. But I became friends with one of my, still to this day, very good friends, Megan, and then met her friend, Sammy. Well, whenever they told me they were moving schools through for the second semester going down to Anderson New Tech, I decided I was going to follow them. And whenever I made it down there, I immediately realized it was completely different from what Anderson, the other one, was like. Everybody was really welcoming. I realized that nobody judged me. Everybody was in their own lives. Everybody worried about their own things. It wasn't until down there whenever I actually encountered my first guys that were actually openly gay in school. And that was a whole new topic to me. I mean, throughout middle school, I knew I found guys attractive. I mean, I've always known I found guys attractive, just never really knew what it meant. But once I actually put the label, even though it shouldn't be labeled, to actually being gay, is whenever I realized I needed to come out. And I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know when I was gonna do this. I was just completely lost. I was trying to figure out how to tell my friends, couldn't figure that out. And it all kind of came together whenever I found out that this gay guy at the school named Cole had a thing for me. And at that point I was like, wow, okay, somebody's actually attracted to me. And at that time I had very, very, very low self-esteem, and I did not think highly of myself, so that kind of gave me a little oomph, kind of made me feel good. So I made it a goal of mine to where I was going to come out. That way I can try and pursue this guy. And I mean, that basically was what pushed me to actually come out and become myself. And it seems kind of odd that I was doing it for somebody else. But that just realizing that I was not going to be able to have that relationship with another guy that I wanted and that I knew I was going to eventually have until I came out, that's what initially told me, you need to tell people. You need to be upfront about it. You don't need to hide it. There's no need to hide it. I mean, it's not a bad thing. Even now, people accept it like it's none other. Everybody's okay with it. My friends know it. My friends even now tell me, we knew all along. It's kind of crazy. But so I realized that the first step was to come out at school and to let everybody else know how I felt. And it kind of started off with just one friend. I told her because she was friends with the guy. And I was like, so this is it. This is it. I think he's good looking. I'm gay. I want to pursue him. I was like, go tell people you know. I literally just told her to go tell people. I was so terrified, did not know how this was going to turn out at all. Soon enough, since it was a very small school, everybody knew. I mean, nobody said anything. Whenever it was brought up, it's like everybody acted like they just knew that it was all natural. And at that point, I mean, I was free to pursue who I wanted. And that was the most relieving thing ever, because I was tired of trying to hide myself and go after girls, because clearly I was not into that. So whenever that was done and over with, I realized, okay, my sister's gonna find out, because we went to the same school. Well, she went to the middle school, which knew people up at the high school, so everybody knew everybody. Anderson was a really small town. So I knew I had to come out to my family next. And this was the most terrifying thing of all, because I lived with them. I had to see them on a daily basis. There was going to be no running and hiding if I wanted to do that. So I came out to my sister. We were really close, and whenever I told her, she just kind of looked at me and just said I knew that she knew, that she could tell. I guess her and my cousin just had a hunch, and they were right. Whenever I told them, they were kind of relieved though. My sister's like, oh my god, I have a gay brother, gay best friend. I guess that's every girl's dream, apparently, from what I hear. But once that was done, it was to tell my parents. And with my mom, since I was talking to the guy at the time, I kind of put it on to the fact of, I kind of just sat down with her one day in the car and was like, can we just go for a drive? And she's like, sure. So we went for a drive, and I just looked at her and I was like, Mom, I think I like guys the same way that Shelby likes girls, which was one of my lesbian friends at the time. And my mom knew she was lesbian, didn't care about it or anything. My mom was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, you like guys? And I was like, I think so. And I was like, I mean, I've been talking to a guy for a while now. And she just kind of looked at me kind of confused, didn't really expect it. I kind of thought she would expect it. Apparently she didn't. But she just was kind of shocked at first, and I mean, she didn't reject it, she wasn't upset about it, she just told me, don't tell your dad. Oddly enough, she told me, do not tell your dad, because my dad was the most homophobic person I knew. So here went the next big part of telling him, which I did not deliberately do at all, until it got down to the point where I had to. We got in a big fight one day. And my mom had already known, my siblings knew, but they were about it. And then the last person to tell was my dad. And I wasn't ready. I was not ready for it at all. But he got me so mad one day while we were in a fight. I just looked at him and he said, I'm done. I'm washing my hands clean of you. And that's what he told me. And I looked at him, I was like, okay, well then I guess it won't hurt to know that your son's a fag. Complete silence. I did not hear from him for about another 2 months. He kind of shut me out, didn't say anything, but it was the most relieving thing ever, knowing that everybody in my house, my home where I lived, where I went home to every single day, they all knew. And to know that at least all of them except for him didn't care. And honestly, I didn't care. We didn't really have that great of a relationship back then. Granted, now it's improving a little bit, but at the time, I really did not care if his opinion was negative towards it at all. And it stayed that way until he finally started talking to me about a couple months later. And it just continued to get better from that point. I mean, he realized that this was not a phase, that this was me. This is who I am. I mean, I guess they kind of just started to connect the dots. And then once that happened, he contacted my grandparents right after I told him. And my grandparents kind of had gay friends, so they came over and literally sat me down and they're like, I want you to get on the phone with Kevin and Paul. I want them to talk to you. I want to see if they think you're gay. And I'm like, somebody else is going to tell you that I'm gay over me telling you that I'm gay? Like, how does that make sense? I mean, I did not make sense of it, but I just kept in mind I was just going to go with it, do what they wanted, and I talked to them. They asked me to like, do you like guys? Yeah, I do. They're like, do you think of guys in that way? I'm like, yeah. I mean, if I didn't, I would not be in this situation. So they told them yes, and then my grandparents scared me and told me, don't tell your aunt. She wouldn't accept it. And granted, me and my aunt have always been so close, best friends all the time. That was my auntie, my Aunt Trina, and I was her. I know this is kind of goofy, but she called me her anchovy. Really, really long story. I just told her I didn't like anchovies on my pizza one day, and she immediately just stuck to that name, anchovy. So I was her anchovy, and she was my auntie. So I was terrified. I did not want to think of losing her as well. I mean, but the thing that kept me going was everybody I thought I was going to lose in the first place, they're still here. They were still here. So it got down to the point to where I just posted something on Facebook because I knew she would see it. And she was very upset that I did not tell her deliberately, like tell her directly. And I mean, she got over it. She was very accepting. Everybody on that side of my family was very accepting. Everybody was accepting. That's the thing. I was not expecting it. I was so prepared for shunning and not wanting to talk to me or anything of that sort. But they all welcomed me with open arms. And I think that that was the one thing I was not expecting at all. And I got it. And that was the most amazing thing ever. My friends, whenever I was telling them, I mean, my best friend Megan, it was the funniest thing. We were at a school dance and I pulled her aside. I was like, I feel like I need to tell you something. I need to tell you something. I was like, I don't know how to tell you. It's like, but I need to tell you. She literally stopped me and looked at me. She's like, Anthony, if you're about to tell me that you're gay, I know. That's fine. Let's go back and have fun. And I literally was dumbfounded. I was shocked. I could not believe she literally just told me what I was so scared to tell her, that she just already knew. But I mean, once everybody knew, everything just started to fall into place, and I just started to see myself become who I truly was. And it was the most relieving thing ever, to not have to hide anything, to be able to just be me. And the fact that that actually ties into what me and Cody have been talking about this entire time, well, not this entire time, for the beginning of the year, for our New Year's resolution, to just be you. And how relieving it can be whenever you just be you. So, I mean, for those out there that are struggling with this, that are having a hard time coming to terms with it, and not knowing how to handle it, just take it one step at a time, and just know that everything in life works itself out. You can't hide who you are. I mean, just be you, and everything, you'll feel the weight of the world just lift off your shoulders, and you'll finally be freed from the masks that today's society wears, just trying to be what everybody wants them to be. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I don't act how anybody wants me to be. I'm crazy, I'm weird. I sing and dance around in my car, and I don't care if the person next to me sees me. Yeah, I'll be like, hey, jamming out, having a good time too. I bet. I hope that this video has kind of given you guys a little bit of an insight on exactly how relieving it can be whenever you finally start hiding behind the curtain of what people want you to be. And I mean, it's kind of funny to say, but come out of the closet. But if you guys have any questions or anything else you want me to go ahead and add on in a later video, any questions of any sort, please just go ahead and comment them at the bottom part. But other than that, go ahead, like the video, subscribe, and definitely tune in next week because Cody's going to be touching base on his coming out story. Clearly you can tell this video has been a little bit longer than our usual one, so we just needed to make sure we each had plenty of time. So, I mean, you guys, until next week, I will see you next Monday. Well, Cody will see you next Monday. And always remember, just be you.